All right, good afternoon and welcome to today's session of Imagine America Radio, our continuing Career College Exposition webinar series. My name is Lee Doubleday, and I am the Director of Operations here at the Imagine America Foundation. I'm excited about today's topic, Non-Baccalaureate STEM Career Pathways, sponsored by Universal Technical Institute, or UTI. UTI is this country's leading provider of high-quality, career-focused education at 16 locations nationwide. UTI is also a 21-year sponsor of the Imagine America Scholarship and Award programs, having provided admissions-based financial aid to more than 17,000 enrolling Imagine America students. Without taking valuable time from our presenter today, let me refer any and all inquiries about the Imagine America Scholarship Program and how your students can apply for a scholarship to attend the institutions we're talking about today to our website, which is www.imagine-america.org. But since our beginning in 1999, Imagine America remains a leading sponsor of scholarship aid to enrolling high school students. However, our country faces a serious shortage in certified technicians. And we hear from employers in virtually all sections of the country desperately looking for qualified employees, so we need to do more. Our partner in today's presentation again is Universal Technical Institute, and joining us today to discuss in detail the looming technician shortage and how UTI is helping meet this need is Dr. Stephen Coyle. Dr. Coyle is a nationally recognized expert in this area with an extensive K-12 background, so you're in great hands today. But before turning the program over to Dr. Coyle, let me outline today's agenda. Today's session of Imagine America Radio will be 30 minutes maximum, with question and answers at the end of the presentation. All participants can and are encouraged to please submit questions while this presentation is in session. As they're at the top of your mind, go ahead and type them into the Q&A or the chat feature in this Zoom meeting, and we'll get to those questions at the end of the presentation. We're going to leave about 5 minutes at the end for questions, so feel free to type in any questions you have as we go along. We will have a hard close at 2:30 p.m. to be respectful of your time. So without taking any more time out of today's presentation, let me turn today's session over to Dr. Coyle. Dr. Coyle, floor is yours.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Lee, for that introduction, and appreciate all of you taking the time to visit with me today. Hopefully, I'll give you some information, some nuggets that you can take to your respective school districts and maybe apply them to what you're doing. So let's get right into the presentation. You've probably been watching the news and noticing that there's been talk about college enrollments dropping. At the college, university, and even community college level, the enrollment numbers have dropped about 10 to 12% this year. It's kind of alarming in a way, but what it's really doing, it's really telling about this Generation Z group. They're just not into wanting to go to school 4, 5, 6 years. They want something more, more instantaneous. They're not emailers. They're Snapchatters. They're texters. They're they do Instagram, those kind of things. So it just stands to reason that these students are looking for a quicker way to get the education that they want. They want good jobs. They're all about making money, that's for sure. But they are just questioning the need to go to school, for 5 or 6 years when they could get this accomplished in a much shorter time period. According to a survey by Stanley Black and Decker, 85% of young people value a skilled trades career. But at the same time, only 16% are very likely to consider such a career. Quite a difference in numbers. You might ask, how could that be? How could there be such a large separation? Well, a lot of it has to do with us as educators. Are we giving them the information they want? For instance, they don't know exactly what skilled trades are all about. They have no idea that these are STEM careers. They look at these and they think in terms of, well, are these hobbies? Is this something that just anybody could do and just something be nice to know how to do? Are these really careers that not only are in demand but pay well? And the answer is with emphatic yes. All of those things are true. And we just have to do a better job of getting that information to these students. The other problem that we have is the underrepresentation of women in the industry. This is an untapped resource as we're looking for ways to close that skills gap. The women in STEM is just not been the same sentence. There's been a big party going on. The guys have been invited, the girls have not. So I'll talk to you more about that later and what UTI is doing to try to solve that problem itself. You know, when you think about alternatives to traditional education, you have to remember, what are employers looking for? And the answer is simple. They're looking for skills. You know, what do you bring to the table? You as school counselors, you all have skills. That's why you were hired to be the school counselor for the school that you're in. Well, this is what employers are looking for. What skills do you bring to the table? What can you do to help their company, their school, their corporation, whatever it is, to succeed? But you have to remember, there's two types of skills. The hard skills, we got that down. You know, can you fix a car? Can you fix a truck? Can you cut hair? Can you plumb? Can you weld? Can you build a house? You know, those are our skills. But the part that we don't recognize and should are the soft skills. And they've really taken a back seat, especially as of late. You know, these young people today are really struggling with that. The pandemic did us no favors with it. And so we're having to get you work on these type of skills. You know, another thing that's done them in too is the iPhone and all these cell phones and things too, because that's how they communicate. You know, you can see kids sitting in the bleachers together. They're talking, but they're texting. They're not talking to each other. You know, you go out to a restaurant, you see a family of 4 or 5. Everybody's got their phone. Everybody's on them. Nobody's talking to each other. Nothing. So these soft skills are very important. At UTI, we even have our service writing class where we teach students how to interact with their customers. You know, it's one thing to be able to fix their car, fix their motorcycle, but it's another thing altogether to convey that information to the customer. Hey, here is what I found is wrong with your car. I know you said it was making this funny sound. Here's why the sound was being made, and here's what we can do to repair it. So those skills are very important too, and written skills. You know, the being able to write out information or direction, that kind of thing too. These are all very important and need to be taught to our youth today. Always love going over this slide. It's just so interesting to me. It's a glaring, I guess, display of the difference between what employers see and what employees see. For instance, in the first topic, professionalism and work ethic, the employer rated the employee at 42.5% proficiency. The employee rated themselves at almost 90. Quite a difference. Oral and written communications, we were just talking about this. The employer sees the employee at 41.6%. They saw themselves at almost 80%. You might say, well, how could that be? How could there be such a discrepancy in those numbers? Well, I have a theory, and my theory is that when students, you know, when kids start out and they get involved in sports or in other kinds of activities, things, there's no losers. We don't teach kids how to lose. Everybody gets a ribbon, everybody gets a medal, everybody gets a trophy. A lot of times they don't even know why they got it, but they got it because we want everybody to be happy and successful and all this. Well, as that goes through their school years and they get some up ready for career readiness and career pathways, then we got a huge problem because they don't know how to fail. And then when they get into a career where, you know, maybe they're challenged a little bit and they really aren't prepared for that, then the employer starts questioning, well, hey, you know, what's going on here? You know, I thought you could do all this stuff. In reality, they can't. So as educators, it's okay for kids to fail. That's how they learn. You know, learn through their failures so they can have success. So we can't be afraid or we can't shield them from that. We need to let them know, be very honest with them. Otherwise, we're just doing them a disservice when they move on into their career someday, that we're giving this false sense of security that they're really good when in reality they aren't. This statistic is kind of sad, but it's so true. Almost half of the college graduates walking around today with a bachelor's degree aren't using it or didn't need it in the first place. Yeah, I always think back to my Uber driver I had when I was at the Tennessee School Counselor Conference back in the fall, earlier fall, and I was talking with her, and she was telling me about getting her master's degree. She worked in the corporate world. She's my Uber driver. So I thought, well, she's just doing Uber part-time, makes a little extra money. Oh no, this was her job. And so when I pushed her on it a little bit, well, what were you thinking? She said, well, I thought getting a master's degree was going to mean more money. I mean, I could move up the ladder and all this. She said, none of that happened. Said, I'm still making the same money, still working these long hours, not really enjoying what I'm doing. But she said, I enjoy driving Uber because I've got control of my time and I've got control of my money. And she said, if I don't feel like driving today, I just don't log on and I don't drive. If I want to make more money, I drive more. So she likes that. So I can promise you that you have people at your Walmart, your local Walmarts. There's people in there with a bachelor's degree or even a master's degree and maybe higher. Who knows? We just have to as we're getting students ready for career readiness, show them that, okay, here's the education you need. You know, we got to get out of this stigma that, well, you got to have a college degree or you're just not going to be successful. Now, we have a lot of people successful on this earth that do not have college degrees and they're doing quite well. So we have to recognize that and make sure that we're giving credit to all of our students and preparing them for their career pathway. Why a trade school? Well, the first thing we have to look at is this. We still have this stigma that trade schools are Plan B. They're the backup plan. This just is not good. These students, this is their Plan A, and we have to recognize it that way. You know, just because a student decides that they want to be an auto technician or they want to be a cosmetologist or they want to be a welder. Well, that's okay. Those are great careers and they pay well. So we can't look down our nose at them like, well, okay, you can go that route. I mean, you know, I guess you can do that instead, but you know, you really should be going to college and getting a degree and all that stuff. You know, we have to remember that this is not Plan B to these kids, it's Plan A. Another thing to consider about that too is that when you give them this kind of recognition, you're also getting parent buy-in too, because those parents, they want their kids recognized too. So we have to make sure that we're doing that with students. You know, I've actually gone to career fairs. Notice I didn't say college fair. If you're still calling it a college fair, don't do that any longer. Call it a career fair. When you say college fair, they're going to think about University of Texas, Texas Tech, Texas A&M. You know, they're going to think about those schools. They're not going to think about trade schools. So call it a career fair. But anyway, I've actually gone to career fairs where all the trade schools were put back in the corner somewhere. You know, put back on the back row. I mean, what a slap in the face. You know, and there are kids that, you know, this is the route that they want to go. So why are we putting such a downer on this? You know, we have to remember that these schools are just as important as someone that's going to a college or university or into the military. You know, when I look at this screen, there's one word that sticks out, and I hope you're picking up on that word already. It's the word essential. You know, I look at all these on here, all these careers, and they're not essential because this is what we teach, because it is what we teach. But it's essential because think of your life without these in it. Now, you may look at that and say, aircraft mechanic, avionics technician, that doesn't mean anything to me. Well, maybe it doesn't to you, but it does to me because I'm going to be getting on an airplane in the morning at 7 o'clock and flying to New Jersey for a counselor summit that I'm going to be attending. And then I'm going to get in another plane and fly to Indianapolis for PRI. So those they're important to me. But there are all kinds, you know, think of your life without these in them. Now, you might look at plumber, you say, well, really, is that essential? Well, when the toilet doesn't flush, it is, you know, but these come in and out of our lives. But you remember that these were essential before the pandemic, they're essential during the pandemic, and now they're even more essential post-pandemic. You know, these are not going away. They're a huge part of our life and something that we have to recognize. And remember too, these are great careers. They're in high demand and they pay well. They pay very well. So we need to recognize that. The other part of this too, when I look at this here, once again, all the different areas that we teach in, but One of the things that we do when we conduct workshops in high schools all across the country, I mean, we're in over 10,000 high schools nationwide every year. But one of the things we want to do, we want to expose students to what is out there available to them. They may look at this list right here and say, like for instance, non-destructive testing. How many of you know what that is? Most of you do not. In fact, I'd even venture to say probably none of you know what it is. I didn't know what it was until we acquired MIAT last fall. Non-destructive testing, after a hurricane, after a flood, after a tornado, whatever. We have these buildings have to be tested, see if they're safe to go back into. Bridges have to be tested. I always thought, well, gosh, if I drive across a bridge and didn't fall in, that's a pretty good day. But bottom line is, these have to be tested regularly, and that's what a non-destructive testing technician actually does. And students probably wouldn't even know that that is even a career. CNC machining, CNC, they probably don't even know what those letters stand for, computer numerical control, and what they do. They make parts for cars and parts for other pieces of machinery and other kinds of equipment that we have. That's what CNC machining is all about. So that's what is important about our workshop is we expose students to what is out there so they will know so they can make a more informed decision. There's a lot of careers out there that maybe you've never even heard of before. And so that's why it's important to expose your students to as many of these opportunities as you possibly can. Now, earlier, I was talking about the underrepresentation of women and what UTI is trying to do. So one of the things that we've done last year, we partnered with a group called Ignite Worldwide. Ignite was Inspiring Girls Now in Technology Evolution. And so what we did is we had these seminars. So we've taken it this year and we've taken it up a notch. In fact, Jerry Elner, my colleague and good friend, is he's going to be in Avondale, Arizona, doing a one. We're expecting 146 girls at this. So these are huge. But these seminars, they're important because it shows these girls what is available to them. Women in STEM skilled trades conferences, we have them all over. Last year we had 8 in-person ones. They were at different campuses. We had over 1,000 girls attend and tour the campus, get to see what it's like to see a true STEM school and see some of the careers opportunities that we offer. We even did a virtual event because some of the girls couldn't make it to a campus, so we did a virtual event for them. Over 200 high school girls at 8 high schools participated in that one as well. Their mantra is you can't be what you can't see. And so we've taken that to a new level too, because just showing these girls, like for instance, how many of you have seen a female welder, a female auto technician, female motorcycle technician, female carpenter, female welder? And then when you do, it's like, oh gosh, they have a girl working for them. It's a novelty. It shouldn't be a novelty. It should be reality. You drive down the road and you see road crew working. Do you see any women? You will occasionally one. And then if you do see them, they're holding the sign, the stop sign and the go slow sign, like that. We've got to change this thinking. So at our Mooresville campus, for instance, we had a great session there. In fact, this one helped us win our Community Excellence Award and from the our accrediting body ACCSC. So we're very proud of this. But look at this. Look in the upper right-hand corner. See those girls? They're doing a pit crew class that we teach at NASCAR Technical Institute. I'll bet you that morning when they got out of bed, they didn't dream that they were going to be doing something like that that day. You see, they're down there. They're learning how to change tire on a race car. It's a big deal. So just exposing these girls to what they didn't think they could do. We have them do welding simulators. I was in Lyle, and one of the girls got 100 on the welding simulator. Tremendous. She just stepped back and was like, wow, what I do? She just had no idea. When I have school counselors come to my LDIs that I host at various campuses with ASCA, I always put them on the welding simulator because you guys love that stuff. But I've had a few counselors that I've told them, I said, you might want to think about a career change because you're a pretty good welder. And I'd venture to say they'll make more than a school counselor will. So, something to consider. But anyway, it just gives these girls a chance to experience something that otherwise they wouldn't get to experience. And I think that's so important. We always say you don't know what you don't know. And That's the key here. We want these girls to be able to experience what it's like to do some of these things that they didn't think was possible before. One of the things that we do at every one of these is we have a panel, and these panel are women in STEM. For instance, Kristen Labani, president and founder of Breaking Limits; Sophie Fox, CEO of Women in Wheels; Brooke Ulrich, who at the time was with Home Depot, she's now moved to a different position; Madison Conrad with Roush Yates Engines; and Jennifer Lefevre, also with Roush Yates. You know, the largest engine builder in the world. But these women are there for a reason. So these girls can ask them questions. They can ask them, like, how did you do it? Was it hard? Did people make fun of you? What did your parents think? Because these are all questions these girls are facing as they're trying to decide, what they want to do. They want to do this, but they're afraid. And so we want to put them at ease as much as we possibly can so they'll see that, hey, this is all right what you're wanting to do. The best part is at the end, we have them fill out cards telling us a little bit about what they experienced and how it affected them. This one young lady, I like watching cars go fast, but wow, today I couldn't stop smiling. I was intrigued with everything. I had no idea how I would start a job in this career. Now all I can think is to apply here after high school. You literally life changing for these girls. Some of them will bring tears to your eyes when you read what they have to say. So we know that we're making an impact on these girls, and we're starting to see an influx of girls into our programs. About 4.5% of our population is female, but that number's going up, and we like to think it's because of things like this that we're doing, and the great work with the women in STEM, showing them this is what's available to you. I show this because these are our alliances that we have with our manufacturers. We have over 35 alliances with them. This is who we work with. But I show you this for another reason. I'm not just bragging by the fact that we're the only school in the country that has this many alliances with manufacturers. But what's really important here is that you need to get involved with them too. If you're not using industry in your school district, that's a big miss for you. They want to work with you. They've got the resources to help you. I know what your budgets are like. You don't have them, and these guys do. We use them all the time. We have industry days where we have students and their parents come into like a dealership so they can see what it looks like, and the dealerships love it because these are prospective employees for them someday. So they're willing to want to come in for that. We also invite the school counselors in too and administrators so they can experience it. You have no idea unless you've been into one with your car. You don't know what they're like today. I mean, so different than what we used to see all the time. So anyway, make sure you use an industry and in your schools to help you with your STEM related careers. Excuse me. Another thing that we're really proud of is our TRIP program, Tuition Reimbursement Incentive Program. I know you guys can all get your students fill out scholarship applications, right? Yeah, I know you can't, and we can't either. And so the TRIP program is very important for us. What we do is we offer students these packages upon graduation. We have several employers across the country that offer these. These packages anywhere from $10,000 up to over $40,000 that they can use to pay off their student loans, for tools. Because these guys will have $30,000, $40,000 tied up in tools, so they can use the money for that, for relocation, for whatever they need it for, so they can be successful. But we just don't want them to have a lot of debt hanging over their heads. So this has proven to be a very good program. But there is a catch. You got to work hard to get here. And we're not talking about just grades. We're talking about work ethic. We're talking about professionalism. We're talking about attendance. These dealerships, they'll hire you if you show good attendance. Their rationale is, hey, you don't go to school, you probably won't go to work either. So those kind of things too. But it's very important. A lot of your states have these free college for 2 years. But these programs aren't working very well because you can look at the college scorecard at the graduation rate. They're not finishing school because they have no skin in the game. So this has proven to be a very important program to us. Here's our locations nationwide. You can see in Texas we have 4 locations. We have 3 3 UTI, and then we have our MIAT in Houston as well. So we're in Austin, Dallas, and Houston area. But you can see 16 locations across the country. But that's important too because with our nationwide presence, we're well known everywhere. So when it comes time to get a student employed, we don't have a lot of problem with that because they do know who we are. So there's what we do: non-baccalaureate opportunities, project-based learning, emphasis on professionalism. We give you uniforms, we expect you to wear them. History of graduate success. We have over 220,000 graduates. Graduation rate, the national average is 48%. Ours is in the mid to upper 60%, depending upon the campus. The placement rate, we say we place 4 out of 5 of our graduates, but there's actually other programs that have a higher placement rate than that. We are Title IV funded, so therefore you do the FAFSA to see if you qualify for financial aid. We offer scholarships and grants. We offer grants for housing. Yes, we do have housing. They're not dorms, they're apartments. And then, of course, our national presence and industry relationships that I already mentioned. And then finally, here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me. My email address, there's my Instagram account. Follow me on there, Steve Coyle 2793. I'll follow you back. And then my phone number, 479-252-0056. But you know you've really made it in life when you have your own QR code. So here's mine. So feel free to take a picture of that. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. See what you think about today's session. If there's any way I can help you with your school district with professional development, anything like that, everything we offer is free. I'd be glad to work with you. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I know you're busy people. Best of luck to you for the rest of the school year and happy holidays. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Coyle. We are now going to open this up for the Q&A portion of our presentation. So if you have a question for either myself or Dr. Coyle, please let me know. Dr. Coyle, this first question, I think you covered it. I think you just covered it, but it was typed in. So does UTI offer the ability for students to fill out the FAFSA in order to come to school there?
Yes. In fact, when you enroll, and by the way, to enroll in school, you can't just come to UTI. You have to be invited. And so we have an interview with the student and their family to make sure that not only are we a good fit for them, but they're a good fit for us. But then you will be assigned a financial aid advisor. And then one of the first things we want you to do is fill out a FAFSA to see if you qualify for financial aid. They will help you with all this. Your financial aid advisors will, and to see what all you qualify for, then we can start putting together a package for you to make school affordable.
Okay, great. All right, I think that actually that's all of our questions for this session. Just a few house cleaning items here. Number one, we've recorded this session. I'll be forwarding it to all of our registrants tomorrow morning, along with Dr. Coyle's contact information. So if you want to schedule a workshop with Dr. Coyle or talk to him about any professional development he'd be able to offer you, please feel free to reach out to him via the email I'll send to you tomorrow. There is also a quick survey when you leave this meeting. It's only 4 questions long and is multiple choice, but we do presentations like this one all over the country. So any feedback you could provide us would be greatly, greatly appreciated. But before closing, I just want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. I'd also like to thank Dr. Coyle for sharing with us today's presentation and encourage you to contact him directly with any future questions that you may have. On behalf of the Imagine America Foundation, Dr. Coyle and myself, I want to thank you, wish you a great rest of your day, and a happy holidays. Bye-bye.